Não, estamos live. Estamos aqui na primeira mesa redonda do Rock Horror Film Festival do quarto 2021. E estamos aqui com os diretores dos filmes Evie, que é o Alex Von Hofmann, o roteirista dele, que é o Luke Martin, e estamos aqui também com CJ Barnes, de Age, Sex and Location. So I just said a bunch of, crazy stuff about you guys, but...
Fantastic. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Likewise.
So CJ, this is like, it has been like a year since we saw each other because you were at the festival last year.
Yeah, that's right. With, what was it? Lost Property.
I can't hear you well. I can't hear you very well. Do you have like your phones, headset?
Hold on.
Okay. So CJ, this time, I was very bad with him last year because he had to wake up like at 4 a.m. to be able to be. He's laughing because he's been like to 2 round tables, and the poor thing, he had to wake up very early. But like every filmmaker that participates on the festival, they get hooked. They have a crush for my, skull, and so they have to come back. So there he is.
Brilliant. Well, 2 years in a row is awesome. It's great work.
He keeps doing better films every year, so he has to come back.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, yeah,
that's the way it should be.
Well, CJ,
so where are you at, CJ, in Australia?
There I am. I'm actually on the Gold Coast at the moment, and I apologize for my tardiness. I'm actually down at the park setting up for my daughter's 6th birthday, so trying to do double duty here.
Very good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you guys hear him well? Because I can't hear him very well.
Very clear.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice and clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you from? Where are you at in Australia? I was asking you.
I'm on the Gold Coast, so just south of Brisbane.
So you guys are close, or are you far from each other?
We're sort of at opposite corners. So I'm in Melbourne, and Luke's in Perth. So we're sort of spread all over the country at the moment. Yeah.
So none of us are anywhere near each other.
No.
So I must ask you, do you guys have like kangaroos and cute little things there where you guys at in Australia? Because I keep thinking of it. No?
There's
nothing, them, right?
Nothing cute around me. It's all just urban sprawl.
We get the occasional cute thing. I would imagine Luke probably gets the most amount of that sort of stuff being out in WA.
We get quite a bit around here. It's not far to go to find a bit of bush and to find some of the animals around here. So, yeah, there's quite a bit around Perth.
Look, let me ask you. So, where are you from? You're also American, right?
Me? No.
Yeah, or you're Australian?
No, Australian. Yep.
Oh,
Australian.
okay.
You might be thinking of me. I was born in the US, but I've lived in Australia my whole life. So.
Oh, right. Because I was wondering, because CJ is American, right? And I was wondering what makes Americans to immigrate to, Australia to make films.
Women. It's usually women.
Women.
That's why I came. Yeah. That's why I came. Yeah, I'm actually about 2 months ago, I got my Australian citizenship. So now I'm actually an Australian citizen as well. So thank you. Yeah, so dual citizen.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So are you here to stay?
Oh yeah.
You think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if anybody follows the news and the politics back in the US, I don't know why anybody would go back, truthfully. So yeah, I like it here. I don't understand the politics here in Australia very well, but
neither do I.
Yeah, I gather that from a lot of people, actually.
Yeah,
it can be a bit baffling sometimes. Yeah, it's probably the same as us looking at America, shaking our heads, going, "What's going on?" But yeah, we won't get into that this morning.
No.
So I'm still getting a sound, very strange sound from CJ. It's kind of metallic.
Yeah, it's probably because
so...
I'm out. Probably because I'm outdoors.
Okay. So
hopefully it's good in the live. It's nice and clear for us.
Because I don't know, because I don't know, maybe you guys get a better connection because you're closer. I'm getting a bad connection. So because I want to hear what he has to say about his film, because he has a very, very cool film this year. Age, Sex, and Location. And his actress, I love her. She's great. So do you want to tell us something about it? Yeah, she was in Lost Property as well.
Yeah, that was... The film was sort of born out of a short story I read on Reddit, and I just sort of extrapolated it from there. And Kat and I were looking for a new, the lead actress, she and I were looking for a new project to do, just sort of something to, it'd been a while since we'd done anything, and just looking for something interesting to do. So put that together, and then, I think we shot it over 2 days. There's a lot that, like any filmmaker, you go and you watch it and you go, well, there's a lot of things that I would do differently if I were to go back and do it again. But yeah, it was a hectic experience. Like all my films, they tend to be shot over a very short period of time because we can't afford to be anywhere for very long. Lost Property, the one that was in previously, we shot that in 24 hours. In a hotel room. Yeah. That it was. I'll never do it again. It was an experience that I can say that I did and would never want to try and do again.
Was that a specific 24-hour project? Because I know there's a lot of those films out there. No, okay.
No, it was all inside a hotel room. So we wangled a hotel room, and we're just like, look, we'll just shoot the whole thing. Set our scenes so that we are, the time of day that we want, we're shooting. And then, it just went over 24 hours, and it was a long, arduous shoot for sure. But this one was a little bit more comfortable. And it was fun. Just shot in an apartment, and it was a good experience.
Awesome.
Nice.
So you guys want to talk a little bit about your film?
Yeah,
Evie?
Sure.
So beautiful. Just let me tell you that I love that. Your actress is amazing too. How old is she?
Oh, now she's 19
she's an adult
or so.
Now.
Yeah, but she was 16 at the time when we filmed it. No, she was a great find. Awesome find. And she actually does mostly modeling now, and I just keep hoping that she'll get back into acting or keep acting, because she's a talent. So I think she could go far. I was living in Perth at the time, and we shot Evie over Christmas and into January, and then I moved to Melbourne, and so a lot of the film the post took place while I was over here and Luke was still in Perth, and we have a dinosaur in our film that was a huge CG project that took a couple years to actually nail. So
wow.
It's been a long time in the coming, this film. It's sort of the opposite of CJ's film.
Sort of the exact opposite. Yeah. 2 days versus 2 years. But it was, we did reshoots over a second year as well. We did some pickups over 2 or 3 days, I think it was, or a year after we'd shot the principal set of days. So, and shooting during that time of the year in Perth, as you know, CJ, it's very hot in summer anywhere, but Perth is just it's just a searing dry heat for the most time. So it was still a challenge, but
But
Luke,
let me just ask you a question about the film. I mean, how did you come up with the idea of, because it when I watch the film, I have the impression that's like, I want to see more. Do you guys have plans to, developing it and making a sequel or because I mean, it's so much work and the story goes on. I mean, you expect that the story will go on. So
That's a great reaction. That's exactly what we're after, really. I'm just in the midst of a third draft of developing into a feature. So that's, I was supposed to have it finished yesterday, but it's not quite. But the original seed for the story was actually from my son, who's now 7, but he would have been probably just under 4 at the time, maybe 3.5. And he was, as all kids are, really into dinosaurs, and had a dream and was telling us, whilst he's sitting next to his sister, about having to run into the house and lock the gate behind him. And he was very, very serious about having to lock the gate and escape this dinosaur. So my wife, Kate, who's the producer on the film and the production designer, she filmed it whilst putting our daughter, Adeline, to bed. And it really just came from that. And I thought that would make quite a cool film. And I thought my original intention was to write it so that they could watch it at an earlier age. They're probably going to have to wait a few more years before they can watch the film in its entirety. It's not.
You're going to traumatize your kids for life, right?
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you something. I have something to tell you. I have a horror film festival today because my parents, they made me watch horror movies when I was 3. So
Nice.
This is what can happen to the person.
Okay.
I made the mistake of telling my daughter, because she asked, "Can I watch your films?" I'm like, no, 'cause she's 6, and she goes, "Why?" And she asked me why, and I say, "Because Daddy makes," and I made the mistake of saying, "Daddy makes adult films."
Yeah.
And I was like, and it took me a minute. I was like, "I mean, scary films. Daddy makes scary films. Please don't tell anybody that your dad makes adult films, because that's going to be an interesting conversation at the parent-teacher conference, I'm sure."
Oh, that's great.
That's right.
That's great.
Yeah.
I had the same problem showing the kids. They ask for trailers all the time, and they'll see the extra trailer that's up there, and I made the mistake of saying, no, that's for an adult film as well. So I'm hoping the same thing. We're not. Yeah. We're not going to fall into the same trap.
Daddy makes adult films.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we'd probably be a lot wealthier if we did.
Yeah.
I mean, in all truthfulness.
Yeah.
Instead of starving artists.
That's right.
Well, I don't have a problem, because my kids is the horror film festival, so
Yeah.
My kids already.
Yeah.
Every year, every year it gets worse. It's a little monster that I created. So I have
awesome.
no kids.
Yeah, it's great.
But I imagine if I had a kid today that, "Mommy, can I watch a festival?" No, I don't think you should.
Probably not.
Not
See,
a good idea.
kids these days don't have the video store where you go in and you used to go back to the horror section and look at the fronts and the backs of all the VHS boxes.
Yeah, right.
And go, "Oh God, what is this? Look at this thing!" And then you watch them as an adult, and you're like, "Wow, I was scared of this."
Yeah, that's right.
It's the intrigue of what you see on the back of those boxes.
And
sets that
so
little, that curiosity, and sets that plants that seed, I think, for later on.
100%.
Yeah.
Which is why I like making horror now, because of those VHS boxes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
So do you guys, have you been to a lot of festivals with the films that are now at the Hawk Horror this year?
Myself, no, just because there's no festival, there's not a whole lot of festivals going on. And the ones that I've been accepted to are usually overseas and virtual. So unfortunately not with these ones. But I'd like to.
Yeah. We've entered a number and had a good number of acceptances, which is great. But the one festival that I've always wanted to be in is Sitges, and the film got into that, and I was so excited and couldn't go, just couldn't travel, which is devastating.
But the film was there.
Yes, the film was there. Yeah. So that was our premiere.
Great festival.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's a great festival.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I have a lot of films from Sieges. I mean, because Sieges happens before my festival, and so it's good because I have a lot of films that go through there that come to the Rock Horror. So you guys have one that comes from there too. That's cool. And also
awesome.
because of the pandemic, I mean, it's so hard now to do the festivals. Like our festival, we do it in the cinemas, but I mean, since last year, we've been doing it online because of because they are not really open, the cinemas. Now they are starting to open again, but still it's, I feel terrible about, thinking of gathering people unless, it's safe, because it's a responsibility. So it's very hard for festivals to, make the decisions. But
Totally.
in Europe, they opened before us, and the States, and here in Brazil, we got really a very bad situation that we still, now with the vaccine and all that, it's getting a little better. Let's hope that 2022, it's going to be a better year for everybody all over.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, so I've signed up for a few festivals through the virtual thing, and it's actually pretty great to be able to, from Australia, tune into the Austin Film Festival without traveling, and watch a bunch of the films. That's great. And I hope some of that, what we've gained from the virtual screening, stays, but there's nothing like the atmosphere of being at a festival, so I just can't wait for it to get back to that, where we can travel and be there for a few days and experience the whole thing,
And getting to meet filmmakers face to face is such a, it's an exciting sort of thing to be able to, discuss your film, discuss projects. I've met some people that I've, gotten help from or worked with a little bit on things as well at film festivals. So it'd be great to get back to that, that sort of mentality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
I had the other festivals that I had in the cinema, we had filmmakers coming from other countries, the States, and, from Europe too. And it's great to have, them at the festival and all that. And also we have like the rock shows that we don't have now. We only have the lives, so people, they can watch some rock and roll. But it's very, but I think that after having the experience of doing it online, like we did last year, I did like 35 lives with directors. And so people, they can really, because I would never have time to do what we are doing here if I had to be in the cinemas and running around and do the live event live. So I think that, but I would like to do a hybrid, next year, I do in the cinemas and do online, but I have to think how I'm going to do that in order to do the lives and all that. Because this is a very good way to get, like you said, the international guests to the festival and to participate and talk about their films. So
absolutely.
I want to maintain
is,
it.
I think hybrid's the way of the future anyways for these sorts of events. I just think, the reach that you get, and filmmakers, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but the filmmakers, especially for us that are, in Australia, it's great to be able to get that expansive reach, to be able to connect with people, with audiences well and truly outside of our own country. We can't make it to every film festival, unfortunately, because that would be just crippling debt. So to be able to expand that reach and be able to see, and be a part of it, I think makes entering into film festivals all that much more exciting for us, even, when we're sort of stuck in our own country.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
It is. And the thing that I've come from an exhibition background that I'd worked in for 20 years, and I'd only recently left that job at the start of the year. But one of the last sort of like group events that I did was for the Australian Cinematographer Society, and they were doing their national awards.
That's cool.
And they actually pulled together, video conferencing from cinematographers who are working in London and Sydney and sort of all over the place. And we had them on screen via Zoom where they could answer questions from the audience, just all from a laptop. And it was the first time that I'd done that level, just from a cinema perspective. And then they were still able to showcase their films on the big screen as well. So it was really, it's great that that's already evolving. So hopefully when you guys open up again in Brazil and cinemas are open, instead of our faces being on a little maybe computer screen, we could be blown up to 20 foot or something like that instead.
I hope you guys make another film and come to the next festival or the next.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be here.
Definitely.
We'll be here. But I think that aside from being together, I mean, sharing and having, because I'm a filmmaker as well. And when I go to a festival with my films, I like that atmosphere. I like to be, with directors and talking about films and, learning and sharing information. So this is what I like to do with this festival here. I created the Rock Horror to be a director's festival. So that's why it's so important to have, the participation of you guys and even talking about your films. That's why I ask you to make like this, the little video, telling the audience, come watch my film, because I think that also being a suspense, horror, fantastic film festival, it's interesting for the public to see who is behind these films, because, it's, it's a very scary film. Who is the crazy guy who created that? So,
who was the monster that made this film?
Yeah, yeah. We like having our sanity questioned as well.
Yeah.
It's just as parents, isn't it? Isn't that what you you find yourself going down that little that hole?
Yeah.
And can you imagine me being like the mastermind of putting all these films together to show people that that's very, Chrys, she's like very weird. Sometimes I tell people that I have a horror film festival and they look at me like this. And I think it's so funny. And then sometimes I say, oh, come watch my festival. And then I see people a little bit reticent like that, especially men. I mean, it's so funny because, sometimes they're scared of horror movies. And so it makes me laugh because, I have to watch like hundreds of, horror movies to do the festival. And so
horror is one of those genres where you do get people that just say, I don't watch that. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I can't. It's probably the only one I can think of where they're just like, no, I'm not going to do it. Probably that and subtitles. Those are the two things.
Yeah. Once. Yeah. I would have. My thing was when I would go into think about what I would see at the cinemas. Like, do I want to pay to be scared witless? And that was my sort of like, all right, am I in the mood to be scared witless today? And then I would pay.
Always.
It was,
always in the
mood. It was, like,
I don't think I even bother to go see other movies in the theater anymore. I mean, the occasional Marvel movie, I guess, but apart from that, it's all horror movies.
Yeah, you got to go for the experience, and there's nothing like being surrounded by all of that atmosphere and feeling and, knowing that you have to stay, you paid for it. I'm not going to leave early if I'm scared. No, I'm gonna stay there and wish that I'd made a different decision. But that's what the filmmaker intended, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I'm watching the films to select for the festival, because I do the curatorship, I have people that help me, but I mainly choose the films that are going to participate in the festival, and also I'm looking for things. I'm looking for things in films. Sometimes I see that the story has something, even because this is a space for creation. So we have filmmakers in different levels. You have like films that the guys are already doing, like feature films that are being sold for distribution. We've had like, Oscar nominated directors in the festival already. And, a lot of star films with stars, and you have like the filmmaker that's like starting to, and he has something. This guy has something, and I think this is why the festival exists, to bring this guy that's creating something, and he has talent. You should push him to do something else and to move forward. And so this is like why I think festivals are just a space that it's like a barn that, okay, let's get everybody in there and then, share things, and everyone in different levels. And I think this is what's fun. Here we can do that. It's not, we don't have the pressure of the industry, because of course we want to show a good film and, and having prizes or whatever, but you don't have the pressure of the real life yet of, the industry or the distribution, or somebody's going to say, oh no, because it's funny. Everyone thinks that they can do a better film. You show your film to someone and people say, oh, but why didn't you do this, or didn't you do that, or put this actor doing this or that? Nobody goes and watch like a picture in like a painting in the museum and say, oh, I think I should, this guy should use like a little more bluer or redder. Nobody does that for paintings, but they do that for films, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
Yeah, never thought of it that way. It's, maybe it's just the filmmaker condition where we're just endlessly critical of ourselves, I think, for the most part. But yeah, I don't know what.
I'm my biggest critic. I think I pretty much just look at all my films and go, these are shit. And and fortunately, other people are like, they're not shit. Don't worry. And that, but I don't think it's possible to ever be truly like happy with your own work. There's always things that I go, oh, I need to change it. And eventually, as a filmmaker, you just have to kind of let things go at a certain point and move on to the next project. But
I basically don't look at my own work again after it's finished. I do it, I put it out into the world, and then I ignore it and move on to the next thing for that very reason, because it's going to bother me.
Oh, 100%.
I think that we all, when we go back to watch what we've done, we are like, no, I should have done this like this or this like that. Or no, this. Oh, I don't want to. And it stays, right? We whatever we do, it stays. But this is also a part of, the developing of you as a filmmaker, because it's good there are steps on the way.
Yeah,
it's good also to see that.
That's what we found with Evie, is that we would go back and we have watched our other films previously, and you rewatch them and you have that same thought. And then with Evie, because we'd shot it so, I think it was 2018, I think it was, we were shooting it 2017 into 18, and we would come back and watch it. And because I was running a movie theater myself, we were actually able to show, we just popped the rough cut up on the screen so we could get a full feel of what it's like from a cinematic perspective. And we would do that quite a bit, and we did spend quite a while away from it, from actually watching the edit, because we'd locked it off. Spent this year or so, a bit longer, trying to making sure we got the dinosaur right. Well, not me, Alex and Ben, the VFX lead on it. And then we would come back to it, like every 6 months or 7 months, and we'd watch it again. And me personally, and I know the cinematographer, Meredith, and Kate, the producer, we would actually look at each other and go, you know what, it still holds up, because we were really worried that we would have that effect, that same feeling that, wow, this looks like dated now, or this looks this, or this looks that. And we actually, it was the first time, my first ever film, that I hadn't had that feeling where I could have, there were things that, we could have done this better or different with the story, but it actually held up, and I was still proud of it, 2 years on, before we'd even locked the VFX, watching it again and having that really good feeling of, I'm still really proud of this and really happy of this, and I actually wouldn't change too much. It was a really, really good feeling. I've never had it before. Awesome. So hopefully it continues with every other film.
I was going to, sorry, go ahead, because I was going to say something about your film. Just when I look at Evie, I think that I want to see not only what's going to happen next, but maybe the prequel of what happened before, because, the story is like a moment in time, but you have like stuff, you can feel the stuff that happened before, that a lot of interesting things may have happened before you got there. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you have after. So, I mean, I think you have really to think about this. I think you have a lot of potential with Evie to do more.
Yeah, and that's what this process since really since I've jumped off a cliff and quit my full-time job in March.
I love that I jumped off the cliff part.
Yeah, and because I've for 20 years I've been the breadwinner in the house, and so my wife has been working full-time to be the breadwinner, so just to allow me to finally have the freedom to write full-time. And yeah, this whole process has been just a big back and forth about what moment in the short that sort of moment still happens in the draft of the feature, but along what timeline of the feature does that happen, and then getting to learn the entire background of the world and the characters. I did a bit of that for the short, but this is going right back, like years before anything even happens, and then planning out what happens beyond the short has all been happening over the last sort of 5 months as I've been developing the feature, and it's so much fun. Like it's whenever I have a day, well, like there were plenty of days to start with where I didn't have any, I wasn't getting anything done, and it would get me quite down. You'd sort of feel like you were like, what the hell am I doing? And then I just got into a really good groove, and I feel like I've got the best life. I do all my kids' stuff in the morning. I drop them off at school. I write for 5-6 hours. I pick them up at 3, and I'm like the happiest guy in the world. It's just the best. So yeah,
I'm so jealous right now. But that's
six hours a day to work on that world, which has been really fun.
That's great. It couldn't have happened to a better person to land that schedule, though, Luke.
Oh, thanks, mate.
I wish I had somebody to go to be the breadwinner, so I could, jump off the cliff and do the stuff. But I jump off the cliff, and I still have to be the breadwinner of this thing. So feel privileged.
Yes, yeah,
definitely.
The thing about Evie is that we had a giant world in mind, and the short really just drops you right into the middle of it, and you're in some sort of post-apocalyptic something, but we don't explain it, and there's dinosaurs at a certain point, but we don't explain that either, but we had tons of conversations about all of this, and it's all fodder for the feature, and it's going to be really fun to see that world explored more.
That's so cool.
I think the film has a lot of charm. And I think that. But so, what have you been working on while he's writing? What have you been working on, Alex?
I've met up with a producer here in Melbourne, and we're working on a feature film that I've been writing for a number of years, and we've got some development funding, and that's starting to get towards the pointy end.
Cool.
So
Congratulations.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you. Hopefully I'll be making my first feature sometime next year. That's the plan.
Awesome. What about you, CJ? What you've been up to? What you're preparing for Hog Horror 2022?
Yeah, I am in the process. I'm sort of in the late stage, in the financing stage now of my first feature as well, which I'm hoping to shoot next year. A horror film set in the Outback. It's called A Boy Named Peter.
I'm sorry, what's the name of the film? I didn't get it.
A Boy Named Peter.
A boy named?
Peter.
Okay.
Yeah. And so yeah, so that's my project. I'm probably going to be quitting my day job in January next year, and pulling as Luke said, jumping off the cliff.
Good work, mate.
And yeah, thanks. It's terrifying. It's absolutely it's pants shitting terror is what it is. That would make it. That's my next horror film, is a guy who quits his job to try and make films. Yeah. So hopefully next May June we'll be going into production. So that's the goal at the moment.
Good work.
That's great, guys. Yeah. I want to quit my day job too and come to Australia to do films with you guys there.
Jump off the cliff with us.
Yes.
Take the leap.
Let's hook up and see what we can do, like a co-production Brazil, Australia. Now we have a lot of minds working here. Like we have two, directors, we have two screenwriters, you have a producer, you have, a lot of things going on. This is why we are doing the film festival, to start doing things together.
Absolutely. Well, that's the idea, isn't it? That's the best part about the film festivals, is that you get people together and all of a sudden they start spitballing ideas, and before you know it, you're out shooting something in some random location in Australia. That's that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
So you guys going to shoot? Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say, are you guys gonna shoot out in WA for when you do the feature?
For Evie? We'll shoot wherever we need to, really.
Whoever gives us money.
Yeah, that's right. It's because we were denied a bit of funding. We went in for a funding round. We thought we had a really strong proposal, and we got knocked back. And as like most people in Australia, and you've probably being Australian now, CJ, aware that we kind of have to do a lot with very, very little. And so we'll sort of said, well, stuff you, we can still make this, even though we were told that it was probably not possible. It's wherever we need to make it, really. Be great to make in WA. But I'm not going to be fussy with it. Writing the feature to be shot in WA, and very, very budget conscious. It's wherever it's got to go. But it'd be great to be in WA. It's such a beautiful little part of the world, through the wheat belt and up through Northern Australia and through the middle. It's got very, incredible colours and great landscapes. But it'd be great to be one of the first Australian films where the first good comment is the cinematography was great. I don't want to hear that, even though it'll look beautiful. I don't want that to be the first comment. And you're shooting yours in the outback of Queensland, in from the Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's the plan at the moment. So probably Winton, Queensland is where we're looking at shooting there. It's a small town about 14 hours from Brisbane, but it's
did you say Winton?
Sort of Winton, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually the dinosaur is where in Winton is where it was found. The Australopithecus wintononus is
they have a big
dinosaur that was
a statue of it.
Yeah, it's incredible, like a big bronze statue. Oh, do you have your little model, Alex?
Not in this room.
There.
Yes,
from they sell little dinosaur models from the museum there in Winton.
Killer.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that was the inspiration.
It's a film. Yeah. It's a film town, apparently. I know some people who have gone out there and shot. Quite a few outback films filmed in Queensland are shot out there. So
yeah, nice.
It's not necessarily breaking new ground, is it? But yeah, so that's 2 weeks there and then 3 weeks in studio is the shooting schedule at the moment.
Oh, excellent!
That's great. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Good work.
The biggest problem that I'm gonna face, I think, is getting crew.
Yeah,
massive crew shortages all over Australia.
It's because there's so much going on, and the restrictions to travel as well.
Insane. It's insane.
Yeah. At least you're on the East Coast.
Do you guys get a lot of public incentive in Australia to do films, or how does it work there? It's more like, how does it work?
Yeah, it's there. There is, credits and things like that. The problem is that it's a long, arduous application process, and 99% of the time you're unsuccessful in getting sort of public funding, and it's just sort of the nature of the beast, I guess.
It's a hard one to explain to people from other countries because most of the time they don't have any incentives, and so they look at us as being super lucky that we have something, and then you can't help but sort of sound a little privileged when you go, well, yeah, we've got that money there, but only one person every year is going to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't mean that we're all getting funded.
Right.
It's very selective. There's not actually enough to go around for all the projects going, and only a very few get the money every year. So there's a lot of projects that go through the whole application process, all the time and effort spent, who just get knocked back.
Yeah, here too. We have a tax rebate. We have some, audiovisual laws that allows us to, get money, get an approval to look for the money, and then you have to go look for, the companies that pay a lot of taxes, and so they can give away like 3% of whatever they pay towards projects, but it's a very bad system too, because it's very hard for the filmmaker to go to the company and convince them to give you any money for what you're doing, because most of them, oh no, we are not interested in doing a project like this. We want to invest in something that is related to the environment, or that's related to whatever. Sports, they invest in sports, but they don't want to invest in cinema. So it's not really, an easy way to make a film. I mean, we could have a much bigger industry if we had more incentive.
Also, we're all horror filmmakers, and in Australia, nobody wants to give money to a horror film. It's like the last thing they want to fund.
Yeah. Which is ironic. It's ironic because horror is the one genre that is almost a guaranteed moneymaker.
Exactly.
It's
short-sighted.
It really is. But without disparaging Australian cinema in any way, shape, or form, Australian cinema, especially the people that are sort of giving out grants and things like that, they're looking for highbrow entertainment. They're looking for, distinctly Australian style stories, and rarely are horror films like Alex said, in that sort of purview of being highbrow entertainment.
I see
for whatever reason. I don't really know why, but that just seems to be the way that they go.
Even though we're seeing so many great horror films that are
absolutely.
But look, here in Brazil is the same, because you come in with the project, but this is not cultural enough. This doesn't show the culture. I mean, but this is not what could be a success and could be understood worldwide, because you cannot only make Brazilian stories that only Brazilians will. You have the soap operas to do that. You know what I mean? Film, you have to be able to experience something different, and also to speak, to a broader audience, which is worldwide. So I think that the people that gives the money or approves the money or all that stuff, they are not the guys that are the people that are educated enough to make the decision, because they are not going to make an educated decision.
I don't think that the people that are giving the money here are particularly interested in successful movies per se, especially on an international scene. I think that there's a lot of, if you go there with an absolutely cracking horror movie idea, and you have the whole thing laid out, the whole concept and everything like that, and you're like, this is going to make $100 million in the international box office, and then you have another film that's going to make not very much at the box office, but it's centered on social issues. And not saying that there's not a place for that sort of thing. They're going to end up gravitating towards that social issue one because that tends to be the more highbrow sort of entertainment thing that's what they're looking for, is that sort of discussion on the social and political landscape, rather than seeing dinosaurs chase after a young girl or monster, vampires in the outback sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you have
even though we'd probably all rather see the dinosaurs and the vampires.
Exactly.
The world would. Yeah, that's for sure.
What I'm saying is that there is a place in society for everyone, and so we are in this industry, and we are a important part of opening minds, the education, because things don't have to be real all the time. The imaginary is very important in developing people and minds and all that. So we have a function that's very important, and it's overlooked by this that you just said that they would go for. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do social issues, environmental and all that. Of course, we should do it all, but not, just cut, because this is like a dragon movie, or, it's like, we shouldn't cut that out of the equation, because it's very important to make people reflect. Not only the dragon, but I have films in the festival, that very interesting films that really bring different visions about certain things. The festival is not only horror, right? So it's not like we're not talking about only gore here.
Yeah,
I kind of find that the true irony of it is that most of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s horror and sci-fi films were the ways that people made social commentary.
Exactly.
They commented on social issues through horror films, through subverting that norm and getting people to think, and that was what the purpose of sci-fi and horror was. Now there are some great horror films out there. But we've sort of gravitated towards this idea of jump scares and things like that, and it's become a lot less of that social commentary and a lot more of blood, guts, and jump scares and things like that, where maybe we need to find a way to gravitate that genre back towards those social issues and be able to make that commentary and sort of have a horror renaissance, as it was.
Yeah, I think the 90s and through the early 2000s sent horror down that path for some reason, but now we're starting to come around to some just great thinking person's horror, and there's a lot of great commentary and character stuff coming through a lot of these horror films now, and I think we're coming back around. And the unfortunate thing about Australia is that in the 80s in Australia, late 70s, 80s, we were making some crazy films here that were crazy genre films, and then we forgot somewhere along the way that we had that in our DNA and just started making like a bunch of kitchen sink dramas and quirky comedies. And
it's Baz Luhrmann's fault.
There you go. It's just taken them a while to come back around to it, Anyway.
Let me ask you something about Australian cinema, because you have like a great location, because Australia has so many landscapes, so many beautiful places, and everybody wants to make a movie there, I'm sure. But so you have a lot of international crews coming to Australia to shoot, I'm certain. What would you say about the Australian cinema made by Australians? What would be like some highlights for you that filmmakers in Australia that are getting importance in the international scene, so people that are watching can know a little bit more about your cinema?
Boys,
people that are watching, or people that will watch.
I'd say, unfortunately, the best of Australia doesn't stay in Australia. That's probably the biggest sadness about it. So all of the the big directors are all working in Hollywood. Like probably the biggest, who doesn't get very much doesn't get recognized for his Australian roots, is James Wan, because he is like he is at the top of his game. He's in like the top 10 directors in the world, really. And the Australians just don't realize that he grew up in, I think he grew up in Melbourne, actually. Maybe it was Sydney, but I think it was Melbourne. So
Lee Winnell as well, his creative partner.
We probably have Saw to blame for that, maybe that gore movement that we're just talking about as well. So the gore and the jump scare movement, but
torture, was it called torture porn?
Torture porn, one of those adult films that you were talking about before.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd say some of my favorite, like more recent Australian films, aren't actually horror films. Although I thought The Invisible Man that the Lee Winnell did was solid. I enjoyed
but it's set in San Francisco, isn't it? So it's like you can call it Australian.
It's not really Australian. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but but an Australian filmmaker, even though he's in Hollywood or whatever, he is Australian. I mean, this is like this is where he's from. So I think it still shows a vision, because you cannot let go from your roots, right?
You can't. I think some of that's starting to come back around with there's quite a few productions happening. I know on the East Coast, there's maybe not so many here, where some of those bigger stars are coming back to Australia to film. It's probably a lot pandemic driven as well, and that sort of that feel of wanting to get back to home and back to where you grew up. But yeah, there's a lot of those Hollywood actors returning to Australia to film, hopefully Australian stories. Maybe they're American. I'm not too sure exactly what the actual story is, but yeah, that has been happening quite a bit on the East Coast, where there's been a big influx, and that's what you're saying, CJ, is so hard to find crew because they're all crewed up on Russell Crowe's film or with Hemsworth or Baz Luhrmann's Elvis film or whatever it is. There's a lot of that going on.
So there are a lot of international films, big films. Russell Crowe is shooting there right now. I don't know.
I don't know if
they
finished it, but
what he's doing?
What
film he's doing?
Oh, I think it's actually one with Chris Hemsworth, wasn't it? And it's in Sydney. I don't know the story of it, but I think they might have finished a few weeks ago.
I like him.
Just for a reference point, we have Village Roadshow just up the road on the Gold Coast. The studios there, and their large studio, the biggest soundstage they have, is booked out for the next 4 years.
4 years.
So that's how much. Yeah, that's how much. That's how many of those large productions are coming through now. As things open up, it'll be interesting to see if some of them end up moving away from here. But the thing is that crew here is cheaper. The way the dollar is running at the moment, it makes it more affordable. It's sort of that, how in the 90s and 2000s, a lot of stuff was being filmed in Canada because of that dollar parity.
That's right.
We're like the new Canada here because the dollar parity is, I think, $1.40. So the money goes further. There's a lot of qualified people here. So it just ends up becoming this thing. But you're right that there's a lot of Australian actors coming back to do Australian films. My personal feeling, and again, I could be very wrong, is that there's not enough of a focus on, an internationally enjoyable theme or storyline, but made by Australians and made with an Australian sort of flair and with Australian actors. And I think that's where, if we can get back to that point where we're making films that are internationally appealing, but make them Australian, that's how we can, I think, grow Australian cinema to be successful.
Totally agree. Right. Yeah, I think that's the way. That's the way forward.
That was our entire sort of purpose, or like my initial vision, having worked in cinema for 20 years. I was like, I don't want to make that little Australian film, because if you get someone coming up to buy a ticket, the worst way to promote an Australian film is what's this film? Da da da. And if you start your pitch with, it's an Australian film, that's as far as you get before they turn and they go to the Hollywood thing or the UK film. And I was like, I've only seen films on the big screen, the biggest, the big Hollywood films. That's what I want to make. And it was maybe a little naive of me at the time of writing Evie that didn't realize how much of a journey it was going to be to get to that point. But we had the premiere on the biggest screen in Perth. It's about 73 foot wide. And it was incredible. Like it held up like a Hollywood film. I was like, the dinosaur, how's that going to look?
The magic of cinema, the big screen, it's amazing. It's so impressive when we see it big.
But it doesn't necessarily need to be a big dinosaur on screen. It just needs to have that, like you said, CJ, like the international appeal. Like they need to think less.
But if you say to somebody, it's what kind of film is this? It's a dinosaur film set in the post-apocalyptic outback in Australia. People will be like, that sounds awesome. I want to watch that.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go.
The one that I'm working on is, vampires in the outback.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's, but that if I say, it's an Australian film that has vampires in it, then yeah, you're right. People kind of turn off. And even within Australia, they kind of turn off.
Yeah.
They do. Yep. Yeah.
It sounds like Steakland in the outback. Is that what we're looking at? That kind of vibe?
Steakland. How much do I reveal of my? It's like I would say it's Peter Pan meets Salem's Lot set in the outback in a mining town in the outback.
Ooh. Oh wow. Okay.
Cool.
So probably vibes of The Lost Boys and Near Dark as well. If you want to go back to the 80s vampire movies.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Oh, Chrys, put that on your list for 2022.
If you need some cast for your film, we have a film in the festival, which is the American Cannibals, that they have real vampires in the film.
I saw that. I actually look forward to watching that one. I was like, this is a pseudo documentary, and I was going, really?
Yeah, it's like it's half documentary, it's not like part documentary, part fiction, and I'm gonna do a live with them on the 8th or the 9th. I don't know. It's like one of these days. You have to see, but they're gonna talk. I think it's the 9th. They're gonna talk about. I'm very intrigued about this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Blood drinking Americans, cannibals, and all stuff because until the point that they're drinking blood, and I know it's fiction.
Okay, spoilers.
It's okay, but I cannot wrap my mind around the fact that it could be are they really drinking blood or
I mean, do they have to say that it's fiction? Is that the only way to get around the ratings? Because it's
or being arrested.
Yeah, be arrested. Yeah.
You guys have to watch the live that these guys are gonna be here talking about their film, so we're gonna know. I don't know. Also, we have to wait and watch the next one.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
So, guys,
it's a
pleasure to have you at the festival. Do you want to say something, CJ?
Oh no, I'm looking forward to watching that, and I'm actually looking forward to watching. When I saw the poster for Evie, I was like, that looks, and then I found out it was Australian. I was like, that looks awesome. And I was actually very excited. So I look forward to seeing that one.
Cool,
you guys don't have to watch mine. It's like I said, it's shit.
I doubt it. I doubt it very much.
Do you guys want to say something about your films or something that we haven't spoke about?
I've just encouraged people to watch the films. Yeah, it's and we're really happy to be part of the festival.
I'm very happy to have you all. Really.
Same. Glad to be back.
And CJ, you're gonna participate on other tables, huh? I was good to you this year.
Barbara said that I could do another one this week. So today was just a bit of a I didn't know how I was gonna pull it all off just with the birthday and everything else. So now I feel like I've done it. I got the spot that we wanted, and
You're camping out on the table.
It's funny because yesterday I spoke to CJ. No, Barbara sent him an email asking him if she could move his date for tomorrow because I wasn't getting a hold of you guys, and so and then he said, no, I can't because I'm playing. What you're playing?
I'm playing baseball tomorrow morning.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's a good weekend schedule you've got going.
Exhausting weekend.
Absolutely. Kids' parties are full on.
They are. And I'll be here. The party's at 1:00, so I'll be here for the next 4 hours.
Oh, wow. Dude.
Yeah, you did get down there early. Man.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, guys, so it's nice having you at the festival, okay?
Great to see you, Chrys.
You're welcome to come back to another table if you like. You just have to schedule it. And good festival for you all. Try to, to follow what's going on. We've been working hard to make it all happen. And I hope you guys are going to be very happy with the Rock Horror team.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks, Chrys.
Appreciate it, Chrys.
Thanks so much.
Okay,
I'll see you later in the week.
Yes. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
All right.
See you guys. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Cheers.
Let's see.